Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of World Watch. My name is Justice McCraney, and we are so excited to have you joining us here today. Now, we have a lot of really cool stuff that we want to share with you guys, from dinosaurs to brand new technology to new discoveries. I mean, there are a lot of really cool things that we want to share with you, so let's jump right into it. Now, we hope that you guys have had a fantastic week, but it would be really difficult to beat the one that these people just had. That's Animal Planet's host, Forrest Galante. He and a team of scientists from Ecuador have just discovered a tortoise everyone thought was extinct. A living example of the Fernandina giant tortoise has not been seen for more than 110 years. The species was feared to be extinct until researchers found this adult female in a remote part of the Galapagos Islands of Fernandina. The animal was living on a small oasis of vegetation surrounded by dried lava beds which it could not cross, because the floor is lava. Underweight and dehydrated, it was estimated to be more than 100 years old. The team took the rare animal to a breeding center for giant tortoises on neighboring Santa Cruz Island, where it's enjoying plenty of food, water, and some much-needed attention. The Galapagos Islands lie 600 miles off the coast of Ecuador, and Charles Darwin developed his evolutionary theories after studying the unusual animals found there. Now, just about the time arguments were heating up over Darwin's ideas, there was another fight brewing, and that would be the Civil War. Now history buffs can step back into one of the war's most important conflicts, the Battle of Atlanta. The Battle of Atlanta was huge, and so is the cyclorama that tells its story. A cyclorama is a panoramic scene inside of a cylinder. The Atlanta cyclorama is a mass of charging horses, wounded soldiers, cannon blasts, and smoke surrounding a Civil War battlefield in Atlanta. Union troops are seen defeating Confederate forces and then torching much of that southern city. A group of mostly German immigrant artists in Milwaukee, Wisconsin finished the 371-foot-long, 10,000-pound canvas in 1886, just 22 years after the gunsmoke had cleared the battlefield. Now, after 2 years of careful restoration and a lot of heavy lifting, the colossal battle scene and diorama is open to the public at the Atlanta History Center.
The Civil War ended over a century and a half ago, but people still argue over it today, which goes to show that war leaves deep scars, and nowhere is that more true than in the Holy Land. In that region, even a war of less than a week leaves decades of bitter dispute. On Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump said officially that Israel owns and governs the Golan Heights. Israel's friends cheered. Enemies of the Jewish state lashed out. In 1967, outnumbered and surrounded by enemies on the verge of attacking, Israel struck and conquered its hostile neighbors in what has come to be known as the Six-Day War. During the fighting, Israel seized the Golan Heights from Syria. That territory is only about the size of Oklahoma City, but Israel has stayed in control of the land, saying its location and high ground would give an enemy a dangerous advantage. Israel has long pressed the U.S. to acknowledge its sovereignty over the area. On Thursday, President Benjamin Netanyahu thanked Mr. Trump, saying, "You've made history."
But enough about battlefields and politics. Let's talk about something much more productive, and what could be more productive than an assembly line? But what could also be more tiring than an assembly line? Today, assembly line workers are being equipped with exoskeletons that elevate and support the arms. Now, God made people for work, but He also gave us inventive minds to come up with ways to ease labor and make it more productive. Henry Ford's assembly line completely changed the way people work, and it made cars more affordable. But life on the line can be repetitive and backbreaking. Ford is among a number of companies providing their workers with a technology called an exo-vest. Nicholas Gotts wears one during his shift building Mustangs at the Flat Rock Assembly Plant in suburban Detroit.
I'm wearing an exo-vest, which is actually an exoskeleton that helps lift my arms up and throughout the day with my job. It's got springs in this box here that actually help lift up my arm with about 10 to 15 pounds of lifting force. So it makes my job a whole lot easier and a lot less strenuous.
Ford piloted the exo-vest at 2 U.S. plants before deciding last year to expand its use. It's now in 15 factories in 7 countries as part of an effort to lessen the physical toll that this job can take on an employee's body. The vest fits workers ranging from 5'2" to 6'4" and can lift from 5 pounds to 15 pounds per arm. Marty Smets, a technical expert at Ford, says the vests are highly efficient.
If they offer about 10 to 15 pounds of assistance per arm every time you lift your arms up, and you lift your arms up, several thousand times a day, we calculated it's the equivalent of not having to lift about 20 Mustangs per arm over the course of one day.
Other companies, including aircraft manufacturers, are also providing workers with exoskeletons. The wearable robot market is expected to be worth more than $5 billion in 2025, and there may be an exoskeleton in your future. Now, do you like drawing dinosaurs? Give the T-Rex that big head and those sharp teeth and those tiny little arms and those feathers. Wait, what? Yes, feathers. The American Museum of Natural History is turning 150 years old, and T-Rex, the ultimate predator, will kick off the celebration with a roar. Or maybe a squeak. Either way, the show opens on March 11th. But if you step inside those big doors, you'll probably find workers still rushing around making sure everything is ready, from exhibits to exits. To understand what it takes to make a show like this happen, you'd need to take a few steps back. Travel back in time a few months and you would have found researchers and artists hard at work on replicas of the T-Rex. But the dinosaur they're replicating probably doesn't look like the one that you grew up with. This T-Rex won't make you say, "Ah!" It'll make you say, "Aw, look at the little guy." The new exhibits use life-size models to show the dinosaur at each life stage, including this one. Scientists now believe that T-Rex hatchlings started out the size of skinny turkeys. Yes, skinny turkeys. That's quite a beginning for a killing machine. T-Rex babies were very vulnerable, and scientists guess that more than half were probably killed during their first year by predators, accidents, diseases, or starvation. But survivors gained as much as 4.6 pounds per day until they looked like the bus-sized 9-ton mega predator that you recognize from Jurassic Park. Well, almost recognize. Now scientists believe that T-Rex probably had feathers on its head and tail. Yes, feathers. So since we're traveling back in time, let's go back a few decades, because in order to have a T-Rex exhibit, you first have to have a T-Rex discovery. Barnum Brown gets the credit for that one in 1902. Barnum was a legendary fossil hunter who worked for the museum. He hunted fossils in the American West, first finding part of a jawbone, then part of a brain case, and finally a beautiful, complete skull of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Barnum's find was a hit with everyone. Come to think of it, for Barnum to find a T-Rex on the Earth, that would mean there first had to be a T-Rex on the Earth. The real roots of this exhibit require us to travel all the way back to the days of the dinosaurs. But how far back do we go? Scientists don't agree, even Christians don't agree. But they can agree on one thing, and that is that the T-Rex was made by God and God alone. The Museum of Natural History has worked really hard on its incredible exhibit, but you might say that God got the whole show started in the first place. Well guys, that is it for our show today. I hope that you have really enjoyed it and that you have learned a lot. My name is Justice McCraney, and I will see you guys right here next time on World Watch.